We were traveling home the other night from Oklahoma City, and we got behind a really bad wreck with a couple of fatalities, and brought back some memories of my days when I was running a wrecker and how that used to bother me, and kind of got me thinking about some spiritual things, and I just kind of had my mind on it this week. You know, it always amazed me. I'd work a wreck, somebody had died, and what always bothered me more than anything is how somebody's lives can change in an instant, in a second. And I always wondered and worried, prayed about that when I'd work one of those wrecks. You know, where were they going? Who was waiting on them? Was their family waiting on them at home? And instead of them arriving at their house, they would get a knock from a highway patrol or a policeman telling them that their loved one had passed away, or maybe multiple loved ones had passed away. Their daddy wouldn't be coming home, or their mother wouldn't be coming home. Very sobering thought how our lives can change literally in an instant. And if you're like me, you probably spend a lot of your time, and I spent a lot of my life driving down roads. I've seen many, many wrecks in my life, and I've experienced that a lot, and it's something that continually works on you, I think, if you've been around that. You know, I know one thing, when you get into your car, you're planning on going somewhere, right? And we do it every day, right? We get into a car and we got a destination in mind, don't we? We're going to the store, we're going to see somebody, we're going to work, maybe we're just going for a drive, but we've got a destination, we got a plan. We didn't get in our car for nothing. And we started out, and when we get into that car, unless you've had some cars I've had over the years, if you get into that car, you figure you're going to make it, right? You figure you're going to make it to where you're going. That's your plan. You're going to get there. You got a schedule. You're going to be on time. You're going to get there. This morning when you got up to come to church, you went out, you got in your car, and you expect that car to start. You've got a destination in mind. You're going to church, and you expect to get there. And 99.9% of the time, that all works out, right? 99.9% of the time, we wind up exactly where we're going. And that's a great thing. That's a wonderful thing. But you know, the truth is that it's the same way as a Christian. When we're baptized into Christ, we've got a destination in mind, I think, right? We've got a destination. We're going to go to heaven. That's our plan. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that bring people to Christ, and there's a lot of things that people want out of Christ, and want out of their faith, and want out of their belief. But the main thing is we want to go to heaven. We got a destination. And it's just like when we get in that car and we shut that door and start that car, we're going to get where we're going. And when we're baptized into Christ, the day we're baptized into Christ, we're convinced that we're going. That's our destination. And we're going to get there. And it's going to be okay. You know, but the truth is that life happens, right? Life happens. You know, I was driving. Sometimes me and my dad, I'll take my dad with me somewhere driving, and he'll look at all them cars, and he'll go, where on earth are all them people going? Right? You ever get on the road and think that? You think, where on earth are all them people going? Right? I mean, how can that many people need to go somewhere all at the same time? Right? And I guess if you could get in there and ask them, they would be, you know, that would be interesting to know where all they're going. I guess they're going somewhere because they're in the car. They got a destination in mind, and I guess they're going somewhere, right? And in life, that's kind of how it is. There's a lot of people. We're all traveling towards a destination, aren't we? We're all traveling towards a destination. There's an exit ramp up there for you and me. I don't know how many miles up the road it is, but somewhere up the road, we've got an exit ramp. We're going to have to get off. Whether we want to or not, we're going to get off. And you know, the question is, you know, where's that destination? Where are we thinking about going? All those people that are out there, and you're driving down that road, and you see all those people, and you think they're all going somewhere. And you hope they all make it. But maybe they won't. But at some point, they're all going to get off. They're all going to get to where they go. You know, it's the same way when we sit in a congregation. Except in that congregation, we're all looking to get off on the same ramp, right? We're all looking to get off at the same place. We're all looking to get to the same spot. And I've sat in a lot of churches and watched a lot of people, and I've seen some people make it, and I've seen people that didn't make it. I've seen some people that lived their whole life and were faithful as Christians, and when they died, although I'm not the judge of any man, I would say they died a faithful Christian and their salvation is secured. And I've seen people who didn't make it. I've seen people that I sat in pews with, people I've baptized myself, people I've went to church with over the years that have fallen away from the Lord. Why? What happened? What happened? Well, I'm going to tell you, life's a journey. Life is a highway, just like the song says, it really is. Life is a highway. Life is a journey. And you know, when you take off in that car and you shut that door to go somewhere, you never know what lies down that road, do you? I mean, you don't know that you're going to make it. You think you will. You have every intention to do it. But you know, I'm going to tell you, things happen, right? Things happen when you're taking that trip. Bad weather, flat tire, breakdown, road closed. All of a sudden, you're not making that trip as fast as you thought you would. Man, I was coming home from Oklahoma City the other night. I was going to be in bed by midnight. And I spent an hour and a half sitting behind that wreck, and I didn't get to bed till 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, things happen, don't they? And you don't get sometimes to where you think you're going to get. Why? You had every intention to do it, sure. You had every will to do it, every desire to do it. And sometimes things happen that's your fault. Maybe you forgot to put gas in the car. I don't know. And you ran out of gas. Maybe you didn't take care of something you should have took care of it. Maybe sometimes it's not your fault. Weather happens, things happen that are beyond your control, that you don't have anything to do with. And all of a sudden you can't get to where you need to get because all these things got in your way. Well, in this parallel between the highway and the road to heaven, the same thing happens with our spiritual walk, doesn't it? We got every intention to get to heaven. We're baptized and we're fired up and we're going to make it. And everything's good and nothing's going to get in our way. And our gas tank's full and our tires are aired up, right? And we're going to kick the tires and light the fires. We're going to go to heaven, right? We're going to go. And that's our intention. That's our plan. And I don't think there's anybody that was ever baptized into Christ that doesn't come up out of the water with that intention that I'm going to make it. But life happens, doesn't it? The unexpected. Sometimes we do it to ourselves, right? Sometimes it's us. We maybe get an addiction, or maybe it's within us, problems we have within ourselves that we can't seem to overcome. Maybe it's a problem we have with somebody that is in that church, or maybe we have issues and it's things that's within us and we can't make it, just like we forgot to put gas in the car. Sometimes it's stuff that just happens that it's not us. It's not. You know, it's that bad weather. It's that rock slide that covers the road if you lived in Colorado. It's those things that happen that it's not our fault. We lose somebody that's close to us. And we don't understand. We go through a divorce or maybe a really bad relationship. Our family falls apart. Our lives fall apart. We don't know how to put that back together. Where's God? Right? We maybe have to suffer with grief and our loneliness. A spouse passes away. We lose a child. Terrible things happen to us. You know, some things aren't so bad. Some things are just a speed bump, right? But some things that happen to you in life, they're life-changing. They're earth-shattering. You never get back what you lose. And when you go through those things in your life, it derails you. You lose track of your destination. You lose track of what you thought you could attain because the things inside of you, they hold you back from it. And I can't speak for everyone because I don't know the road you travel. I mean, I know some of you pretty good, and I know a lot of the roads you've traveled, but I really don't know the road you travel. I know the road I travel. There's things in my life that have happened to me that I'm never going to be the same. You know what I mean? I'm never going to be the same again. That Rex is gone. It took me a long time to come to grips with that. There's a certain amount of joy in my life that I'm never going to have that again. Just not. You know, it's things like that that it's hard to get past sometimes. And we lose sight of the goal of Christ, the goal of eternity, because we get so caught up in the pain of the present. You know, if I've been on trips, my family, we break down a lot in my life because that's just my family history. And you just can't get away from that. It's a genetic default within me that cars, I always have to work on cars every place I go. I don't know why. But we've taken a lot of trips in my life. And something would happen, and at the point that car broke down or something happened, the only thing that was important to me was fixing that car, fixing that, getting that fixed, getting back on the road, but I wasn't thinking about where I was going. My importance was on that moment, on that instant, to fix what was wrong, to fix what was broken. And I forgot even the destination of where I was going, and it's that way in life. We get so caught up, and we get so broken sometimes, and so caught up in fixing that we forget the destination. We forget heaven. We forget to look past the pain of this life to the glory of God. And I'm here to tell you, I can speak from experience when I say this. I know what I'm talking about here. And when that happens, you struggle, and you're going to struggle. I think I do. And you can't sometimes get past that pain, but you have to think about our destination. You have to think about that's the only hope we have in this life. The only hope we have in this life is eternity, is the next life, because this life is so broken. And I don't know any other way to say that. This life is broken. And I know there's so many great things in this life, and there's so much love, and there's so much joy, and there's so much beauty, and I know there's wonderful things about this life. But I'm promising you, this world, this existence we live in, it's broke. And that you can't fix it. And I can't fix it. It's a potholed highway. And we just have to drive down it. And the truth is that if we lose sight of the end, then we won't make it to the end. That guy, that football player, which I haven't watched football in 2 years, I've actually kind of swore off of it, but nevertheless, that football player that, when he's got that ball and he's, 3 yards from the touchdown, right? And it's the end of the game. And that if that guy's going to get across that goal line, he can't think about all the bumps and the bruises and the scrapes and his broken nose that he's got, and he can't think about all them other guys, and he can't think about any of that stuff. He has to think about one thing. He has to think, I got to get this ball across that line. That's all he can think about. If he thinks about anything else, he won't make it. Brethren, sometimes in life, that's how you and I got to be. When we get that way, we have to focus on one thing, and that's getting that ball across that goal line, getting to where we need to be. God says that the parable of the seed is the word of God. And those beside the road are those who have heard. And then the devil comes and takes away the word from their heart, so they will not believe and be saved. The devil, he's always trying to take the word away from our heart. He's doing it by discouraging us, by telling us things don't matter, by telling us we don't matter. He does it in a million different ways, but he's always taking that word out of our heart, telling us we don't make a difference, or that or that really there's no God, or really there's no eternity, or that how can God listen to all these people in the world? The devil says those things to us all the time because he's working on our heart. And then it says, those on the rocky soil are those who, when they hear, they receive the word with joy. And these have no firm root. They believe for a while, and in time of temptation, they fall away. You know, it's the people who hear it, and they come out of that water, and they got their eyes on the goal, and they're going to go. And then when they get into life, and they get temptation, something pulls them away. The world, their life, addictions, anything. That's the us part of it. You see, that's the thing about this story of the seed, is that he's giving you all these different illustrations of life. Number one is you got Satan. That's number one. Satan's number one. He's going to do anything he can to discourage you and to keep you from going from heaven. That's his job. And you know, the reason that Jesus says this happens on people that the seed first comes to is because after you've been a Christian for a while, Satan has a little bit more of a challenge to get to you. But early on, he can really make it count, right? I mean, I hope as you mature, you have a little more defense against Satan. But early on, he can really make it count. And then the next thing Jesus says is it's us, right? We're the next thing that can draw us away. When we get tempted, when the world pulls us away, oh, I got to go back to that, or I need to do that, or why can't I do that, or something happens and it pulls us away. That's us. That's what happens with us. That's us not putting gas in the car right there, okay? That's us messing up. But then he says, the seed which fell among the thorns, these are the ones who have heard, and as they go on their way, they are choked with worries and riches and pleasures of this life, and bring no fruit to maturity. That's the world. You know, that's the other thing that happens. The things that you and I don't have any control. That's the snowstorm, the blizzard, the guy that pulls out in front of you and runs into your fender. That's the things you have no control over in your life. The things that the life throws at you, and that you're either going to get past it or you're going to lose it right there, because that's the decision time. Right? That's when life goes good and everything goes good. And how many times that happens as a Christian, and everything's going fine and everything's wonderful, and then something big and bad happens. And then it's like, now what? Where am I at? What's happened? The world. And it chokes you down. And it smothers you. Because that's what the world does to us. But the seed in the good soil, these are the ones who have heard the word in an honest and good heart, and hold it fast and bear fruit. Listen to what the Bible says, with perseverance. Perseverance. You know, that's a word that maybe we don't like. That's kind of a hard word, ain't it? To persevere. But brethren, if we're going to get to heaven, you're going to have to persevere things of this life. Because there's no other way to get there. And that's not always an easy thing to do. But we have to keep our mind, our focus on heaven. Our focus has got to be where we end up. In Revelation 3:5 it says, he who overcomes will thus be clothed in white garments, and I will not erase his name from the book of life, and I will confess his name before my Father and his angels. You know, this revelation, right, this is written to churches in Asia, churches that are persecuted, people that are dying for the cause of Christ, people who are losing their property and their lands. And John says, listen to what he says, he who overcomes. You know, there's a lot in that statement, really, to me. It's about the one who overcomes all the problems. It's about the guy and the woman and the person. We got to be correct here. The person who overcomes all these things that happen to you in life to get to your destination, to get to where you need to be. But it's really plain, and this is such a tough passage because it's really plain in this passage that the other thing he says is that your name can be erased. You know, that's big, isn't it? That's huge. It's huge. To strive your whole life to be a Christian, to be baptized, to have your goals set on heaven, to know that's where you're going to go, and then to have your name erased from that book. And how hard would that be on the day of judgment to go there and to say that's where your name was? Have you ever thought about that? That's haunting to me. It's haunting to me because it would be one thing to say, well, you never had it. Right? It'd be one thing to say you never had eternity, you never believed, you never was a follower of Christ, you never were obedient to the gospel, you never had this hope of eternity, you never were looking to heaven as your finish line, you never were expecting to get to heaven in your life, so it's no big surprise. Right? It's no big surprise. But how would it be to be the one who was obedient to the gospel, was baptized into Christ, and lived that life, and got pulled away, and the world choked you down, and life choked you down, and Satan choked you down, and you missed your destination, and at the end of that, and you got to heaven, and you look there, and Jesus says, your name was right here. That's unbelievable to me. I mean, can you still read it under the eraser? I don't go, God probably doesn't use an eraser, but them erasers I used to use in school, you'd erase stuff, you can still read stuff under there. Right? And if you could and you saw that, would your little faded name be there where he erased you? I don't think I could bear that. And I think that keeps me going sometimes because I know my hope. I know my destination. I know eternity lies with Jesus Christ in heaven. And I know this world, and I know Satan is going to do everything he can to make us not reach that goal. Everything he can. And brethren, at the end, it becomes, I want to tell you this. We worry a whole lot about people starting out as Christians. We spend a lot of time getting people baptized and energy and getting them converted to Christ. We worry about that a lot. But I want to tell you, in my mind, we need to be worried more about how people finish. Because you don't care how good you start. I don't care how good that car is when you get in the morning and start that car and she fires right up and everything's good. If that car breaks down before you get to where you need to go, it really doesn't matter how good you started, does it? You know, eternity is not so much about how we start. I'm not saying how we start's not important. I'm just telling you, I'm an old guy. I've been through quite a bit already. I feel like it's probably not over. Just being real here, I feel like that's probably not over, right? And in Christianity, it's not about how you start, I don't think, as much as about how you finish. And I'm worried about finishing. I want that goal. I want eternity. I want to be with Christ. Whatever heaven is, and I'll be honest with you, I don't really have a clue, to be honest. But whatever heaven is, I want it. I may know him, the power of his resurrection, the fellowship of his sufferings. The fellowship of his sufferings, he says. Boy, that's pretty tough. Being conformed to his death, that's even tougher. In order that I may attain to the resurrection from the dead. Not that I have already obtained it, Paul says. Listen to what he says here. Not that I've already obtained it, or have already become perfect, but I press on, so that I may lay hold of that for which also I was laid hold of by Christ Jesus. Brethren, I do not regard myself as having laid hold of it yet. But one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and reaching forward to what lies ahead, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. You know, I have a hard time letting go of what's behind sometimes. But I know if I focus on what lies ahead, I know if I focus on that call and that heaven and that home of Christ, I know that I can finish. I don't say I've laid hold of it yet, because I'm not dead yet. But my intention is to get to the right destination. And my intention is to try to get as many of you to the right destination with me as I can get there. You know, brethren, life, it's sometimes pretty bad. Matter of fact, it's sometimes pretty unbearable. But I will tell you, heaven is worth it all. And you and I, as Christians, we're going to get off. There's an exit. Every one of us, we got an exit. We're going to get off, promise you. And the only question is, which ramp are we going to get off on? The one going to heaven or the one going to hell? The only two ramps. Can we finish? Can we finish our race? Can we gain our prize? Can we hold the course? Can we persevere for the faith? Absolutely. Absolutely. Together, we're going to make it. As hard as it sometimes seems, we're going to make it. So I urge you to press on to that goal. Press on to the finish line. Press on to your destination with your life. Forgetting what lies behind and reaching forward to what lies ahead. Press on towards the upward call of Christ, because in that way we will get to heaven. We can help you in any way this morning. If you need the prayers of this church, we can assist you in any way. Won't you let it be known?